Right, welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. It's day 2 of the ANC's National Policy Conference taking place in Nasrec, south of Johannesburg. The conference is expected to deliberate on how the ANC Integrity Commission can be further strengthened to intensify the renewal project of the party. The commission met with ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa on Monday about the robbery at his Phala farm in Waterberg in Limpopo. It's expected to have another meeting with him soon. For more on this now, we bring in a political analyst, Sandile Swana, who joins us now from the conference in Nasrec. Mr. Swana, thank you so much for your time on the agenda. So it would seem like now the foundations have been laid for discussions. We heard talks about women empowerment. We heard talks about renewal of the ANC, the state capture report, and all this is at the back of dwindling support for the ruling party. What stood out in particular for you and the president's speech yesterday?
I suppose the prominent aspects of that, number one is his comments about the energy, the solution to the electrical energy crisis in South Africa. The second one is the issue of him commenting on the structure of the South African economy, saying that from 1994 till now, the wealth has remained concentrated in white people in South Africa, which means the African National Congress has actually failed to restructure the wealth of the nation so that all South Africans can benefit in an equitable manner. Similarly, I suppose when you talk about the structure of the economy, you also have to say which sectors in the economy itself are more suited going forward to absorb the large number of unemployed South Africans, more than 12 million of them. As well as the issue, which is an old and tired issue really, of getting rid of corruption and things of the kind.
Now, Mr. Swana, I want us to just look at that, especially the question on the country's economy right now, when we look at the gaps that keep growing wider and wider, the gap in unemployment, the gap in poverty in our communities as well. Do you think by some of the solutions that have been proposed year in, year out are far-reaching or they are attainable?
The solutions to the South African economy are available and they are attainable. There's no problem with the solutions. The problem that we have with our economy is a simple problem that the people who are placed in charge of the economy, whether it's the Minister of Finance, Minister of Trade and Industry, Minister of Public Enterprises, Minister of Mines and Energy, etc., and their associated assistants of various kinds, are totally inept and inadequate, totally unsuited for the task. So our problem is a leadership issue, it's an HR issue. The economy, there's no problem with the economy, there's no problem with the population, there's no problem with the natural resources of South Africa. Our problem is one problem. We have a leadership problem in South Africa. We elect wrong leaders and we keep them in office.
Mr. Swana, I want to speak to that point right now that you're making. I know most South Africans feel that there's a leadership that is out of touch with the reality of the South Africans on the ground, out of touch with the plight that South Africans on the day-to-day face, as well as some of the social ills, like we've mentioned, unemployment, poverty. Do you think there's ever going to be a point, looking at that and looking at the ruling party's, dwindling support at last year's local government elections, or do you think they'll be able to come back from all of that?
And we need to distinguish two things. The future of South Africa as a nation is a very bright future. Eventually South Africans will get hold of the nation and run a proper show. The future of the ANC is very dark. I expect the ANC to start losing elections and control of power in South Africa, starting with losing, at a minimum, they will lose Gauteng in 2024.
So, Mr. Swane, when we look at now the talks of the contentious step-aside rule by the ruling party. We know some conversations have been had around it as well throughout the conference since it started. Do you think they can make use of the step-aside rule by using it in a way to regain the trust of the voters, especially when you look at how divided some of the provinces are as far as the step-aside rule is concerned?
Unfortunately, what I will say is that from the start of the step-aside rule, I believed that the step-aside rule is a gimmick, it's unnecessary, it's uncalled for and unhelpful. I don't think the ANC will stand or fall regardless of whether they keep the step-aside rule or they dissolve it. It was unnecessary in the first place. If you are a leader, I always make this example of Oscar Mabuya, who was talking a lot about Ace Magashule, that Ace Magashule has done this, has done that. But he never actually prepared a charge sheet and actually laid disciplinary charges according to the disciplinary code of the ANC, which accommodates every offense that Magashule has done. And every other leader of the ANC who's committed any offense can be accommodated through the Constitution. The problem with this step-aside resolution, if we're to be totally blunt about it, it's a mechanism to accommodate continuing cowardice within the African National Congress, because comrades do not want to confront each other about immorality, about corruption and criminality within the ANC. When a person is spoiling your organization, you need to be named and identify yourself that, Magashule, I am charging you according to the Constitution, or whoever it may be. Right now, Cyril is suspected of other offenses. Nobody is preparing a charge sheet. I've not heard that they are preparing a charge sheet for Cyril according to the disciplinary code of the ANC. They are hiding behind resolutions that are unnecessary.
So at the back of that, I must put in this question, Mr. Swana. What do you think is going to come out of those meetings with President Cyril Ramaphosa? I know he had a meeting with the party's Integrity Commission on Monday and is soon expected to have another one. All right. Seems like he's battling to hear us there. I'm saying as we continue to have this conversation, Mr. Swana, can you hear me? Well, it seems like we've lost him now, but we will be bringing him back onto the program a bit later on as we continue. Do we have him back, Mr. Swana? I hope that we can hear each other now. Looking at the point that you just made, I just need to piggyback on it now. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa now met with the party's Integrity Commission on Monday and is soon expected to have another meeting. So what do you think is going to come out of this meeting?
What is going to come out of the meeting is nothing. What is going to happen is that Cyril Ramaphosa is going to go to the Integrity Commission and say, look, there are institutions that are investigating all the charges against me, and those charges have got potential criminal implications, and the legal advice that I received, and consistent with my constitutional rights, is that I must say nothing except to answer the charges in the correct tribunal or forum. And if I say something here, it might be self-incrimination somewhere else, so it is better for me to keep quiet.
So let's talk about some of the policies that you think can be strengthened or introduced to intensify this renewal project that the ruling party has been talking to us about.
The ultimate solution to the renewal of the African National Congress is probably that between 40 and 60% of the members of the African National Congress in South Africa here need to be expelled from the ANC. They need to be expelled because if we go back to Nelson Mandela's statement back in the 1990s, he says that there is a number of criminals, careerists, and opportunists who have joined the ANC whose motives have got nothing to do with the objectives of the ANC. And that number escalated from 1990 to today, 2022. A lot of the people that you see in ANC t-shirts and ANC uniforms, the only thing that is ANC about them are the uniforms they are wearing. Otherwise, that they are just opportunists and criminals, and they need to be expelled. If your policy does not include a rapid expulsion process, it will never succeed.
All right, that's of course Sandile Swana, political analyst, joining us there live from Nasrec to further dissect and unpack what has been said thus far coming out of that 6th policy conference that's happening there in Nasrec. I'm sure we'll be chatting to him a bit later on again in the program. Let's take you here now.